we're a product of our environment. We're, a product of the people we spend our time with, and obviously the choices we make. And I feel like I've made good choices in that department.
We deal with a lot of people that, true to what you say, they find it difficult when they're breaking into sport. A lot of people get into running like that. They try their hand in football, they try their hand in rugby, they try their hand at everything else through younger years, through school, through university. We try to be professional, and then running ends up becoming a default at some point, or a new hobby for people. What they find difficult is having that conversation with those friends who socialize in other circles, to be like, well, actually, I'm getting up at 6, so I'm not having a beer tonight. And they're like, why? What's wrong with you? Is that commonplace, or is that something you find is probably one of the biggest barriers to sport? Because Ireland, the UK, we have that social life, we have that element, and for me, a lot of the times, having to explain, and then you become that person that talks about running all the time. It's like, well, I wouldn't talk about it if you didn't ask me why I wasn't drinking. But do you find that that is one of the biggest barriers to sport, and that's what can rule people out, I suppose, of taking it a little bit more serious?
I can only speak for myself, and I guess a lot of my friends have just by default ended up being the lads that I played football with. So we've maybe all got similar attitudes towards it. And then obviously, typically a lot of people, when they stop playing, they take on golf. And then obviously we've got this wonderful sport of paddle that's just come out of nowhere that we're all equally infused with, but also we're a little bit like begrudging of, because in the summer we were meant to be improving our handicap at golf. And instead, we went to the paddle court. So we got worse at golf. We went sideways at paddle. But look, I'm so lucky that there are so many things that I'm into. Chuck cycling into the equation as well. And I know it's not running, but I also I'm a big advocate for walking. I put on community walks every other week, and I think that the walking is underrated in terms of it's sort of mental health benefits, but also your physical benefits. Sometimes compared to walking, compared to running, you used to think that walking was a cop-out. But actually, like, there's this new information that we've kind of started getting in the last 12 months around, if you want to lose a bit of weight but you don't want to lose muscle, then actually walking on an incline is like a really good thing to do. It's about keeping your heart rate below a certain threshold so that you're actually fat burning and not sort of anything else. And all of a sudden you're like, oh right, I just thought that it's about sweating and it's about going as hard as you can. And actually there are so many different ways for us to achieve whatever our moving objectives are.
Yeah, walking is one of those great things for lowering cortisol levels. Jeff, like, reading your intro and listening to you, you've mentioned, I'd say 27, 28 different sports and stuff at the moment there. You sound like a very active go person. But I was listening to you on a podcast there, and one of the quotes you said on that was, stillness is absolutely vital. How does that work for someone who's interested in all these different sports, and what that quote come from?
It comes from getting a balance. I've been a meditator for, I'd say, nearly 20 years. I'm not always as regular as I'd like to be. It's one of those things like running, like anything, actually, to keep the good habits on track sometimes require a lot of hard work and discipline, and I don't always have that. But look, to be still is again, it's one of these wonderful habits that if we can get it into our routine, then everything else goes better. For me, it's a way of just being able to quieten the noise, to be alone with your thoughts, to go beyond your thoughts. Actually, it's actually a very healing practice. In terms of there's talking therapies where you can speak to someone face to face. Not everyone likes that, but you can heal just as effectively by actually just sitting with yourself. And that won't make sense to a lot of people.